Remember, we want to hear from you here at Impact, so email us at impact@proctors.org or like us on Facebook. Go to Impact Show on Facebook and click on like. Next up is Barbara with our Science and Education segment. Barbara will be interviewing Richard Guthrie, a citizen science advocate. And they'll be talking about what is a citizen science advocate and what does it have to do with bird watching. So watch.
Welcome to the Science segment on Impact. I'm Barbara Brabetz. Today, we're going to talk with Rich Guthrie about what it takes to do a science as a citizen. Rich, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Barbara. Nice to be here.
It's great to have you here on a beautiful day, I will say, outside.
It is. It's beginning of spring and things are happening. Spring things are happening.
And with spring comes science.
Lots.
So let's talk about what citizen science is, where it came from.
Well, to be a citizen scientist, all you need to do is be observant and be able to report your findings. And there is plenty of opportunities for all sorts of activities.
So you're kind of a biology kind of guy.
I am. The things that fly, crawl, run, swim, hop, I'm in there.
So you like it wet, dirty, buggy, bad weather.
And lots of it.
Lots of it.
Right.
So you're mostly known in the area as really an expert birder, but you're more than just a birder, aren't you?
Well, you can't help but not to be more than a birder. When you're out there, there's so many things that are happening and so many opportunities to take note of that. So it's a merry-go-round of lots of things, and people can participate in each and every one of them, or all of them, all at once.
Some people think of birding as a really solitary hobby or solitary science, if you will, if you want to talk about ornithology, but you are a blogger. You participate in posting your sightings on a website that other birders can enjoy and participate, and you lead trips and also scientific endeavors.
You're
it's
right.
not a very solitary sport, is it?
But it can be. It can be what you want it to be. And many times it's most productive when you're out there working by yourself, taking quiet notes, and or you can join a group either in person or electronically. Go online and be part of a wider network of scientists, amateur, citizen scientists, as well as the professionals. Work side by side, hand in hand, and everybody adds a lot.
So let's talk about citizen science. What really is that besides being observant?
Well,
where do we really see this happening?
Well, there are a number of areas. One of the most popular ones when it comes to birds is participating in the annual Christmas bird count that's sponsored by the Audubon Society and Cornell University, where groups of people go out around the middle of winter, the early part of winter, and count all the birds that they see. That's the project that has been going on for more than 100 years. And each year, thousands and thousands of people go out of the house and find the birds, count them, and report back.
So along with fun with your friends and family to go do a Christmas bird count, what happens to the information that's collected at a Christmas bird count?
Well, you can find out by going online to either the Cornell University website or the National Audubon Society site, and you can see what people have found over the course of 100 years. And it's very valuable information because every little bit adds to a whole bigger picture of the changes in the bird world, and again, it's something that a person can do even from the comfort of their own home by looking out the window and counting the birds that come to the backyard. That's one avenue. So
we talk about a data deluge in this computer age, but really it doesn't take a computer to create this much data. Since 1900, we have all of these bird sightings at a specific time of year in many locations around the country, and we can say, we have a great snapshot. Just think of all the scientists it would take to do what is done with amateurs out in the field.
And it wouldn't be done that way. And nowadays, especially with budget cutbacks and increased awareness and increased skills, the agencies, the government agencies and the universities who are engaged in this sort of research rely on the input from citizen scientists out there of all ages and all abilities. Sometimes it will take somebody to just take the notes and somebody to go in there waist deep in the chilly cold water and scoop out a net. That might have been, as is happening as we speak.
And it's not just biology as well. Another really key area in citizen science has been astronomy for many, many years. There was originally the SETI project where we were listening for extraterrestrial life by listening to radio transmissions from other parts of the galaxy to see if any of them had coherence, any kind of thing that we could pick up with our ear. And the human ear has a wonderful ability to hear that where a computer necessarily doesn't. One of the most popular citizen science programs is one out there right now called Galaxy Zoo, where the scientists say they take images from the Hubble telescope and they put them out on the web and ask people sitting at home with an internet connection and a mouse to look at the images and classify the galaxies as either spherical or spiral or eclipsed. And instead of being a couple of scientists doing this over a decade, they predict that 10 to 20,000 people can do it in a month.
And it's just amazing that there's so much out there that yet to be discovered.
Just think of the data, waiting for people to get their teeth into it.
Claim it, you can do it. And the same thing, another area that's not biological but very important is with the weather. And people in their own backyards can offer a lot of valuable information that might relate to emergency management and flooding and agricultural planning and other local weather information by setting up a weather station in their yard. And there is a place where you can report that every day and provide a very valuable nationwide network of information gathering.
Do you have to be retired and sitting at home and do this? Or?
No, not at all. You just, a rain gauge is what they're after, so that you can measure the amount of precipitation over the 24 hours at 7 o'clock in the morning and report it back to a data gathering place that's that's coordinated in New York at Cornell University, but it's fed to Colorado State University. That's the center point of all the data.
Well, let's get back to birds for a second. What kind of information can we really get from citizen science?
Again, data gathering, observations, and reporting. And that is really, aside from the personal enjoyment of being out there and taking this all in, it's also sharing it in a global fashion, a network of global information. Such as, there's another interesting one for some people who might be a little electronically inclined or computer oriented, and this is a system where you can record the sounds of birds as they migrate through the night. You can't see them and you can barely hear them, but with specialized equipment that's very inexpensive, you can record the sounds, download them electronically onto your computer, and then analyze them through your computer and report back what the findings are. So many warblers or orioles or vireos, sandpipers and rails flying over in the dark at night might otherwise go unnoticed. And you could end up with a total, a tally, and a census of those. And that's a cutting edge, just beginning, but it's very available out there.
And that would be a website that we're putting on the screen right now, so that people, if they're interested, can go and get more information.
They can either they can build their home a kit through inexpensive materials. They build it in their own laboratory, or they can purchase one that's already prefabricated and just put it on the roof and start to listen.
Another thing, we talk about weather and birds and kind of putting them together. We think of observations as seeing a bird, or as you say, hearing a bird, but Doppler radar in birds, who would have thought? Who
would have thought? We used to call those angels. As the radar went through, did the rotations through the night, you used to see these fuzzy figures on the screen. And it took a while to start to figure out that those are birds that are moving through the screen.
So it's not a thunderstorm, not a rainstorm,
it's not a missile invasion, which was, you know, when that first started, they thought there was a missile invasion coming in, and it turned out to be a flock of migrating geese.
Unbelievable.
But that's how sensitive these radars are, and now that we understand it, you could look at Doppler radar at night and you could see the clouds, the masses of birds migrating through the dark of night.
Now, why night? Why do we always, what you talked about, hearing them at night and then the Doppler at night?
They move at night. Many of our songbirds migrate at night for reasons known best to them. We have our theories. It's calmer, there's not so much turbulence in the air, and it gives them all day to rest and refuel, to feed on insects and berries and the like as they're journeying north.
So you can get an email alert that the Doppler radar has seen these angels, and then in the morning you can go out with your pair of binoculars and look to see the fallout, the migratory fallout, the birds that shouldn't be here but are stopping by to eat all those insects before heading out the next day.
On their way north, yes.
Yeah.
And you can look at it yourself. You just go to Underground Weather and look at that website, and you too can look at the radar as intended to show precipitation, but there it is showing flocks of birds.
Now let's talk about global climate change and what the birding community has seen to verify that there is changes of climate here in the Northeast. Let's talk about our migrants that come from Florida and come on up here. Are they coming earlier?
It's hard to say, and the answer to that is probably not. There are occasional blips in the schedule of these birds' movements, but what we are seeing, instead of timetable change, is distribution change. Many of the birds that were known only to the south are now found in our own backyards, starting with common birds such as the cardinal.
So people around northeastern New York would not think of the cardinal as an invasive species.
Well, no, not now, but there was, back in the 40s, there was a front page article in the local newspaper that said there was a cardinal found at a Christmas bird count at somebody's backyard in Schenectady. Now it would be front page news if there weren't a cardinal.
That's true.
And the cardinal is only one of that parade, from the mockingbird to the titmouse to the turkey vulture to the myriad of Carolina wren and so many other birds that are now here that used to be found well to our south.
So let's talk about some of those newcomers. Carolina wren, that's one that's come to the capital region just in the last decade, I'd say.
Well,
and is
a little longer
north.
than maybe 20 years or so, 30 years, but yes, in recent times.
And what else is coming?
Well, they're on their way. The turkey vulture is another one. Back in the day, I used to read that you would have to be below the Mason-Dixon line to see turkey vultures overhead. Now you could be crossing the Canadian border and be looking up and seeing turkey vultures. And its close relative, the black vulture, which is even further south, is now nesting in New York and is found in the Capital District on a regular basis these days. So the list is about 30 different species, to my estimation, that are either have moved in or showing evidence that they are moving in. More frequent sightings each year, the blue grosbeak or the prothonotary warbler. These are all southern birds we're talking about. You'd have to be in Delaware in years past. Now they're here.
Now let's talk about, say you're sitting in your living room and you want to know where the last black vulture was seen. Where do you go to find that information?
Well, there are a number of different places you can find out. On the computer, you can check out this website called Birding on the Net, birdingonthenet. And you'll have a URL for that. There you can see what the local sightings are in not only in the Capital District, but downstate New York or upstate New York or western New York or Canada, or in fact, if you're going to a different state, you can find out what's going on out there. And again, these are observations that have been provided by other birders.
Now, I have my phone here, which my producer's going to kill me if it goes off, but I have my phone here because it's connected to something called eBird. Let's talk about eBird in the few short minutes we have left.
eBird is one of today's cutting-edge developments put out by the National Audubon Society and Cornell University. What you can do is you can directly input the data to eBird, and there it's shared with, first of all, it's cataloged and vetted for accuracy, and then it's put into a major database, and anybody can access that information.
So the vetting takes place by people like you. You are a regional eBird
I am
vetter.
a reviewer.
Yes,
I am a reviewer. So if you report something that's unusual, I want to know a little more about what you thought you saw. And then if I'm convinced, we'll put a stamp of approval on it, and it goes out to the world.
So it's kind of like the Christmas bird count of yesteryear. is running 365 24/7 now.
Any day of the week.
And it
yes.
goes right in through a computer or an email account or a phone even.
Oh, you can nowadays you can provide that information on your smartphone, and they go directly to the website, and then it becomes available to everybody else, and or not. You can let's say if you want a little privacy, you don't have to share that location with anybody. That can be withheld. So if you have a rare bird in your backyard and you really don't want people showing up and seeing it, most people would like to have folks come in and share the information. But sometimes a little privacy, you can do that.
Rich Guthrie, we've run out of time.
Yikes.
We knew it would happen, but it gives us a chance to go out,
Okay.
grab our binoculars, and go see a bird.
Okay.
So citizen scientist budding that you are out there, please join us outside for either some biology or some astronomy to be a citizen scientist. Back to you.
Proctors, bringing the best in arts, education, and entertainment.